Thanks everyone for joining us. We're so proud to be part of the B2BMX Next Level ABM. I am very excited to introduce you to two of our favorite clients. Brian with On Semiconductor, he's going to tell us about how quickly he launched his program inside of a very large organization. And Marlo with FireEye is going to talk about how he's taking ABM to the next level. Brian, let's turn it over to you. Please introduce yourself. Tell us a bit about yourself and a little bit about On Semiconductor, and then let's dive right into your program.
Sounds good. So a little bit about me. I've been in marketing for about 25 years. Most of that's been in digital. So I've kind of grown up in that space. On Semiconductors, a big $5.5 billion company. We're in the semiconductor space. We make a lot of the pieces and parts that go into everything from smartphones to autonomous driving vehicles to robotic assembly lines, all of those different things. We have about 33,000, 34,000 employees, and we're, like I said, a global company. So we do a lot in Asia Pacific, Americas, Europe, Japan. These are all areas that we really play a lot in. And one of the challenges we ran into were a few different things. Obviously, COVID was a big challenge for us. Our salespeople couldn't be in front of our customers on a regular basis. We needed to figure out a way to support them there, as well as a couple other challenges. But let me, I guess, start with the results. When we launched our program in roughly about 3-month time frame, we achieved a 95% engagement rate, which I think is excellent overall. I think one of the reasons why is because we weren't actually going after new logo acquisition or trying to acquire new accounts. Our role was really to try and grow within the existing accounts that we had. And we had really kind of 3 main goals behind our program that we launched. Number 1 was we wanted to uncover new opportunities inside these accounts. Number 2 was to support existing opportunities. Like I said, give kind of a digital air cover to our sales team. And then number 3 was increase the size of the deals that we were working on too as well. So 95% engagement rate was excellent. 65 plus reps that we were supporting. We translated our microsites in about 4 different languages. That was obviously a challenge and continues to be a challenge, but we continue to grow there. And then just overall had some really great alignment between our sales and marketing teams. Our sales teams, again, are all over the world. I find myself on quite a few calls and WebEx meetings and things like that, just to here's what ABM is all about. Here's how you can utilize the program to improve your engagement within your account. How do we customize it for what it is that you're doing? But one of the main drivers behind that is, I think on the next slide, what we had done is we had launched an inside sales team roughly about a year ago. And that inside sales team, we would score them and then send it on to our inside sales team to qualify. Once they qualified that, they would either send it to our distributors for them to follow up if it were a smaller account, or they would send it to our field sales team if it was a certain size and from one of our top accounts. What we found was the vast majority of the leads that came in the door were these distribution level leads, and we really didn't have a great way to target those top accounts. Only roughly about 14% of those leads coming in were from those top accounts. So one of our big drivers from an ABM perspective is how do we grow within those big accounts? How do we target those specifically rather than just this general advertising program going after everybody and casting this wide net? How do we be very surgical on going after these accounts? And what we set up was really kind of 3, almost think about it like 3 categories. Number 1, how do we drive traffic? And it was really through 3 main things when we initially launched. We have an email nurture campaign going out to lists that we got from both our sales teams as well as we got from data sources. We launched an ad campaign using an ABM ad platform. And then when people came to our website, we would personalize our site with pop-ups for specific accounts going, hey, if you're coming from, J-Bill in this case, then here's a dedicated page for you. All 3 of those then drove to a dedicated destination, which was a microsite or a board. We're using Follows in our case. And we would customize it specifically for that account. Once then they had expressed interest or engaged, we would score that with our customer data platform, send it into Salesforce for our inside sales team then to qualify them. So they would contact and qualify, then it would go to our field sales team who would then engage and close with them. And as I said, those three main goals, we've seen some huge inroads that we've been making there. The one other piece to our program too, as well, is we did a survey program. We launched really around IoT, Internet of Things. We thought that was a fairly kind of straight across the board topic that we could focus on. And with that, we got about 85 people to respond to the survey, which on the one hand was great for lead generation. And on the other hand, we generated some good content from the survey as well. And now we're taking this content. We shared the survey on our follows platforms. We've gated it too as well for people that are coming that are anonymous, just so we can get them to give us their information. That's been successful. And then we're also going to be chunking out different pieces of content from this survey and using it in different ways. So that's kind of our program in a nutshell and an overview.
That's amazing. Brian, I just want to ask just a couple of questions. So you mentioned you launched this in about 90 days. And to reiterate, this was your first time doing something in the neighborhood of account-based marketing or targeted selling, right?
For definitely for on Semiconductor, yeah, it was the first time we'd ever attempted to do something like this.
And one of the challenges you mentioned earlier was getting everybody on board to do that. On Semi, just to reiterate those facts and figures, it's a 34,000 person behemoth. Talk to us a little bit about that.
Yeah, that is always the challenge. One of the biggest challenges was people just didn't know what it was and what it meant. Especially in this industry, you tend to get set in your ways and you're used to doing business a certain way. And sales is what makes this industry go round, and just engaging with both the engineering teams and the purchasing teams on the sales side of things. So I think a lot of them are just, they perceive marketing as just kind of the fluffy stuff that happens in the background. And this was really the first time we had a chance to really engage with our sales teams and help them understand, hey, we're trying to partner with you here and give you that digital air cover that I'd mentioned previously to help you stay in front of your customers, because you can't physically be there. We want to help you continue to do that. And one of the interesting things behind it is we've worked with each and every single one of our account teams to customize those pages. So rather than kind of have the one size fits all, it's what type of content do you want on the page for your particular account? So the what is it has been the first big step. Then it's how do I use it has been the second big step. And we're still in that kind of optimizing phase. But I've had sales reps that, for instance, were very against using this at all, very anti, felt like it was being forced down their throat. And now that they've seen some of the results that they're getting out of it, they're like sending us stuff going, hey, I want to use it more. I want to do more with this. So we've seen some good success that way.
Brian, congrats. I mean, that is just a fantastic story. And Marlo, I'd love to kind of pick up the dialogue right where Brian left off. So first and foremost, please tell the audience a bit about yourself and FireEye. But part of the reason I'm excited is you have been doing ABM for a while now. You're one of the early adopters and pioneers. And I can't wait for you to tell us some of the tips and tricks to go from where Brian has just so successfully launched one of his first campaigns. And how do you take it to the next level?
It is definitely an adventure, not for the faint of heart, but that doesn't mean you shouldn't start. Apologies for the doggy noises. Hey, Marlo Finney here at FireEye. I've been here for about 2.5 years, and I built the ABM practice at Cisco before coming to FireEye. So I have experience in both high scale and high personalization programs. FireEye, we know more about the bad guys than anybody. We're involved in just about every frontline incident that you can think of. And we're really, from an ABM perspective, trying to help make that more valuable for all of our customers. And when I say all of them, all of our target ABM accounts, and really drive a lot faster, more agile program. And that's kind of a good segue into the next slide. If you think about it, a lot of customers that are interested in your solutions, when you're doing ABM, you look at it typically from a scale or a personalization standpoint. I'd ask everybody to think about ABM from another angle, which is agility. And Brian touched on this a little bit with some of his program stuff, but we're actually taking it to the next level by really taking the turnaround time and making it really quick. So for example, there was a recent event with all the gas lines getting really long on the East Coast that had to do with a cyber attack. Within literally a day of the intelligence reaching us, we were able to turn that around and drive the next level of details to the customers in our world that were going to be potentially most impacted. And this was done at scale, so it was highly personalized for everybody and really driven to another level of targeting, because we knew not only who was in that industry, but also who was the hungriest for that particular bit of information. So if you want to go to the next slide, Henry, I can.
I will. And Marlo, before we go to that next slide, I just want to ask you this and just reiterate. So within less than a day, within less than 24 hours, there was an attack that obviously you guys could not have prepared for. This took the world by storm, literally. And you were able to react immediately, to pivot, to be incredibly agile, but still maintain the tenets of ABM, right? The ability to do this in a personalized way, and of course, do that at considerable scale. I mean, that is amazing.
Yeah, thanks. Highly personalized and at scale both. And yeah, the agility that we deliver, particularly relative to the rest of marketing, is considered extremely valuable. There's information that the basic marketing, folks will get out there on the, the high level info, and obviously there's stuff in the press, etc. But when you have a bit of, detail that's probably not necessarily, out in the mainstream, some unique knowledge that'll help everybody prepare, you have the obligation, I think, to get this, word out. But you can't just throw it out there to everybody. You have to, number one, it's a lot of it's under NDA, so we obviously have that whole component to it. And another one is, you can't just throw this out to everybody. Not everybody is a big enough security geek to understand what to do with the information. So you have to be really careful about, which audience you're sending it to and how you're delivering it to them and in what format, right? All of these are, really valuable. So this kind of is a perfect segue, right? Whenever anything like this happens, we ask ourselves, okay, so we definitely have a thought leadership position in this area. How can we help the most folks that we can now, but not just, throw it out to everybody? And who can really help the most? So who's at the most risk, and who is the intelligence that we have about this particular situation most relevant to? And then frankly, we lead with really, differentiated value. So another example here from the 60 Minutes stuff was, our CEO, we found out on Friday he was going to be on 60 Minutes. And by Monday morning, when the reps came back into the office, they had, a complete campaign built. Again, just another quick turnaround for making the most of any visibility awareness that's out there, but doing it in a highly personalized fashion so that everybody sees it with their logo, to the people and their teams that care most about that particular topic, both inbound and outbound in an omni-channel perspective. So I would ask everybody to sort of challenge their thinking and go, right message, right customer, right time. But in many cases, that right time is right now. And you got to figure out how to accelerate your ABM process to really get that level of agility that you need to. So here's an example of how we've done it. And intent data is your friend here, right? So there's a lot of different qualitative and quantitative components that come from this. But if we take the threat actor DarkSide, for example, this is one of the ransomware as a service groups. And excuse me, look at where their prevalence had been of most interest to our customers. There's 101,000 accounts, companies, organizations looking for that information. Of course, we're able to zero in on the ones that was most important to the folks looking most frequently, the folks who, had our intelligence subscription, a whole bunch of other parameters, and really, nail that down into the few folks that really mattered the most. And that was the quantitative. The qualitative is equally important. So what are the things that you can connect the dots on the whole context of the situation that are going to really help people understand how to, not become the next victim? And the other piece of this is that if you're looking at this as a sales opportunity, I'd argue you're looking at it from the wrong perspective. You really need to be customer in on this and think about where they have the most risk, where they have the most, benefit from your differentiated value, whatever that looks like. So there's a lot of different ways that you have to kind of think differently about this whole situation to really make that valuable and not just be essentially an ambulance chaser. The other thing is modular content. So this is not something that you can just, create content the same day. You have to be able to, put what you have together and feed that out to folks and then have a plan. But, chance favors a prepared mind, as they say. we actually had a modular format for our content that we had developed over the last, couple of big series of events, and we're able to plug it in very quickly. So in matter of hours, literally, we're able to, share something that's unique and bespoke for a lot of different customers that had very specific details that were relevant to them, but it was done in a modular format so we could get it out very quickly as well. Results, yeah. So this is, again, Henry, where, your team is really, a key partnership that we rely upon to scale our ABM and personalize our ABM. So thank you again for your great help throughout the years. We also use the Follows platform, as Brian mentioned, and we use intent data from 6 Sense. So, you help us put all that stuff together and personalize it for a lot of customers, and we really value that. And with your help and a few other folks, there's only me and one other person full time, and we're on plan for $100 million in pipeline this fiscal year. And the other fun thing is that if you talk about kind of the lead generation that Brian was mentioning a little while ago, we have a 5 times higher conversion rate from pipeline to bookings than the rest of marketing. So we know that the targeting and hyper-personalization is working really well. And by the way, this is all through sales, both omnichannel inbound and outbound. So it makes a big difference because they're getting their frontline sales, ADR, and rep support directly through this program. That's also not only helped us convert faster, but helped us convert bigger. So about 25% larger deal size from our ABM accounts than from the other ones that are being involved. And then the other piece is we just launched a SaaS platform at FireEye with all of our threat intelligence that I was just sharing a moment ago. And half of our customers in literally a quarter have adopted that platform, which, there's not a lot of context for everybody here, but that's far and above anybody else in the rest of marketing's ability to get to these accounts. So it's really been an amazing experience to be able to turn up the speed and deliver this level of results. Again, leveraging our inside reps, the ADR who's been my partner in crime on this, it was the ADR of the year last year. And it's also extraordinarily gratifying to work with some of the biggest, manufacturing, healthcare, financial services companies. And when you get a note directly from their C-level executive saying, this is immensely valuable, please send us the rest of the info, or, thanks for your thought leadership, et cetera. It really makes you, feel like you're doing some good in the world. And so beyond, the fiscal rewards of this, it goes way beyond that and really helps you get up in the morning and have a lot of fun at ABM. So thank you again for the partnership, Henry. Really appreciate it.
These are spectacular results, and thank you. Well, first and foremost, Marlo, Brian, thank you so much. As a reminder to the audience, when we step back and think about account-based marketing, it really is all about revenue, isn't it? At the end of the day, it's aligning all of your resources internally, getting the big battleships, the medium-sized battleships, those schooners in place that we can all focus on what matters most, which is the health of the buyer, right? Whether they're a new relationship or someone you're going to convert to that lifelong relationship. So thank you, gentlemen. This was fascinating. Really appreciate your time with us today.
Always a pleasure.
Appreciate it. Thanks, guys.